Welcome back to the 10-Minute Product Podcast. Today's episode is about customer segmentation. So, Christian, why do we need customer segmentation?
We need customer segmentation for various things. Initially, you could say, well, do we really need it? If we find people with who it works, it would be awesome. But anyway, it's a method that you can use to figure out groups of people that either are similar or do the same things. But basically, it allows you to sell software more than one time. And if you sell software, 1 hour of work, one time sold, it's a consulting. If you build software, 1 hour worked and sold many times, then it becomes a product. And it allows you to get a certain repeatability in sales, basically, and identify common behaviors, common problems, and basically things that allow you to build for more people. At least that's how I see it.
Exactly. And just to add to that, it's not just selling, right? It's also upselling. So if you're a SaaS company, it's upselling
Yep.
for new features. So it's
Yep.
around feature adoption or service adoption.
100%.
So just understanding, what is a good customer, what is a bad customer in terms of adoption, is also hugely important. So we both agree customer segmentation is important. How do you go about it, Christian? Do you have some recommendations in that regard?
Yes. What I would recommend, the first thing is that your organization needs to have honest talks about it. A bit like prioritization, a bit like, hiring or anything else. Customer segmentation is one of those things that could open can of worms. It could also make you face sort of a mirror view and make you realize that you're not that as good as you thought you were. It can also lead to you interviewing customers and realizing, actually, you don't exactly know why everybody bought your software. But I think it's important to do these things, to do these investigations and start finding out. That's the start, at least, is agreeing to that. Then how do you go about it is a question, and I think that's where it becomes a little bit more nuanced. It depends whether you're a B2C company. It depends whether you're a B2B company. It depends what types of product you have. And that's why it starts to get interesting. At that point, I would recommend to start to look at different frameworks that people have used in the past and that have worked for particular cases. That's how I would start, at least from the high level. What about you? Is that correct, or am I way off?
No, I think you're spot on. It's complete agree also that just getting started and just digging into to gaining insights around the customers are usually eye-opening, both for sales teams but also product teams, right? Because we assume we know something, but actually when you look at the patterns in their insights or in the data, you usually come up with something that
Yeah.
that is new to you. So that's just as a standalone, that's a key reason for getting started on customer segmentation.
Mhm.
In terms of, as a general principle, customer segmentation is to understand, let's assume you have a customer base, to understand across a segmentation, what is a good customer to you? Good
Mhm.
customer is obviously someone who spends money with using your product or services, but it may also be other signals like feature adoption, uh, add-on sale. So how you split, in terms of core revenue and then add-on revenue.
Recommendation. Maybe they
Recommendation.
invite others because they like your software so much that they actually are happy to tell others about it.
Exactly.
Is a
And
big
I
one.
think
Yeah.
so. The key thing here is to keep an open mind around how you approach it, right?
Yeah.
This is an exploratory exercise, but in effect, it is about identifying that good customer.
Mm.
Because when you got an idea around who is the good customer and are able to describe that through, they use 80% of our features, they spend on average, let's say, £10,000 per month using our products. That will enable you to segment based on those signals, will enable you to segment the rest of your customer base
Yeah.
according to this peer set of good customers. It usually gives you a span of really poor customers, not spending as much with you or have a low adoption on
Yeah.
features. You'll have a middle segment that usually represents your quick wins in terms of moving that middle segment, so
Yeah.
less good customers towards becoming good
And
customers.
so that's a really really good formulation. I think the things that come to mind is one is for me, there's segmentations that are due to maybe regulatory or due to physical infrastructure. For example, if you launch in, let's say, Germany, you will have to support different payment systems. So you have a natural segmentation of saying, yes, we could launch everywhere, but we have to add a certain payment method for a certain country, or else we really will not sell a lot. So that means, you know, we have to put in more effort into that particular group of people. And I think that brings me a little bit to what types of segmentation exist. Just to give a concrete example, you could say countries, you could say languages, you could say groups of people. I do a software for, let's say, supermarkets, or I do a software for coffee or something, right? But I think the other interesting aspect is that the dimensions along which you look, which I mentioned here, are changing quite a bit depending on your business, and that I think is super interesting to dig into. In terms of, you said, who's your ideal customer? I think from seen from the outside, a lot of people sometimes think this company is not taking care of me at all. La la la. Take the LinkedIn example. If you're a free customer on LinkedIn, would the company care about you? They care about you just enough so you stick around. That's what they want to achieve. But you're not paying them anything. So the people paying them are, recruiters, others. So there's a big difference in the attention that the product team inside of LinkedIn will put on free users versus paying users. And but yeah, so do you have any thoughts around? Do you have any examples, sorry, around segmentations that come to mind like this?
Actually, I got a case from the big Google itself, in effect, because in the early days of Google, I was based out of the Nordic HQ office, and
Hmm.
with the responsibility to kind of review across industries our ability to monetize
Yeah,
search queries, in effect. So we were, Google's core business model
yeah.
is to sell advertising. And in effect, we had some discrepancy in terms of specifically within the accounting industry, so independent accountants looking across similar markets. The Netherlands, as an example, there was a higher level of monetization, and simply we couldn't understand why there was such a barrier in the Nordics for accountants, because in
Hmm.
effect it was very much a high earning sub industry within other markets. As such, it
Yeah.
should be a big opportunity. What we found was during the segmentation was that looking at other industries, what were the particular, or other markets, what were the particular uh, characteristics of a good accountant customer with Google using advertising products, and then cross compare that with what we saw in the Nordics. And I'm gonna fast forward to the findings, which were in effect by doing that segmentation, we found that we had a number of checkboxes we could compare against. And one of the things that sounds simple, but because we did the research, was that we found that Nordic accountants didn't have websites, in effect. And this was way back then, like 15 years
Oh,
ago.
so they don't show up on search at all, or don't have a
Exactly.
link
They
to
had
link
they
to.
had nothing to promote, or were not incentivized to
Mhm.
promote, because they were just doing yellow page listings, in effect. So the push was to reach those customers, to make them good customers, was to give them digital real estate, promote that, to set up academies,
Interesting.
to set up small websites. It was called Google Sites back then, you may recall, and basically
Yes,
got them online with their own real estate, and in turn we triggered them to become
but
incentivized to promote themselves and increased
but
monetization.
you cheated a bit on the chat here because we said, how do you segment customers? You're just saying we created our own customers. So that's a
And
nice one.
effect,
Saying, hey, we have this segment, guys. We need to make the customers come into the segment.
but it was a case where there's a false assumption that,
Yeah,
let's say, Dutch accountants are the same as Nordic accountants. No, because Nordic
yeah, yeah,
accountants weren't penetrated. They didn't have a digital presence
yeah.
with promoting. So it took us a step further back. But the whole
Interesting.
exercise gave us some eye-opening insights that kind of unlocked an
Yeah, yeah.
industry, and in effect, we ended up monetizing it.
Interesting. So that's super interesting. One thing I would mention then from my side, that you made me think of this right now, is um, the adverts. So I worked on an advertising platform, and advertising, of course, is um, across the board. Whether you're a sports shop, whether you're a fish chain, or whether you're a group of I don't know, bridge club, something. Everybody wants to advertise in certain ways. How do you create a platform for so many different people? And some, want to attract. They want to attract members. Some want to promote. I don't know, promotions, whatever they're selling over Christmas, someone to this. And so what we ended up doing is we dug down and we tried to go initially via vertical, via demographic, via the typical sort of segment. And so basically, after the study we did at first, we had all these generic dimensions. We couldn't get to a segmentation that included anything interesting. So we ended up using jobs to be done. And so what we did there is to dig into the use cases people are doing and identify the common use cases. And that is I find a not as super well known method. It's quite well known, but I find that a lot of organizations don't do the step to use it, and they have a sort of a it feels to everyone, well, but can't we make it easier, the segmentation? Can't we have a quicker answer? Because this answer is a bit more difficult. You need to go talk to people, you need to interview the companies, you need to identify the common use cases. But if you actually do the work and you do the legwork to go interview all these people and find the use cases, the results are amazing because you find that there are industries that have, on the surface, nothing in common. They have common use cases. They have common problems that they're trying to solve at the operational level. And how do we, for example, file taxes? I mean, it's a bit easier. But in this case, it was about advertising. So we had different types of advertising, and we found that we could have sales tactics that would sell the advertising in different ways depending on the use case, but not the industry or the vertical or the area or geography. And that was super interesting. So I can only highly recommend that if you're a B2B company, look at jobs to be done. It's work, but it's rewarding.
fact, I think your case was also good to show that doing customer segmentation is not just for your product development efforts. It will change. Usually, it changes the whole shift in culture and focus
Yeah.
within the sales organization, within the customer success organization. It resolves around pain
Yeah.
points or jobs to be done, and as such, that enables, call it solution selling, call it value-based selling, it much more relevant pitch to the customer, which in turn increase the conversion
Mhm.
from lead to customer, right? So good case you brought forward there. So Christian, we strongly agree customer segmentation is necessary.
Yeah.
What I've found in the past is that there's some resistance to even get started
Mhm.
doing customer segmentation. There's a number of reasons for that. It can be we don't have the data, we don't know enough about our customers, we don't have time. Have you experienced the same? And how would
100%.
you go about it then?
100%. I was mentioning the resistance to jobs to be done, for example, because it's a bit more onerous as an amount of work. So I think the key with this is the same. I find that it's feasible the same way as everything else is approach it in stages. Approach it in stages and plan some small initial phase with a quick win. And that will get people on board and saying, ooh, look at this. You guys spent only 6 weeks doing this, and you have some interesting results, something interesting to talk about, and it impacts our day-to-day business in a significant way. And so that's my approach in general: is break it down into smaller pieces, find quick wins, get it sold and socialized within the company. I don't know about you. How do you approach this?
And the same, get started. Just take ownership of getting
Mhm.
started and see what you find. It's exploratory.
Mhm.
Don't conclude in advance. So basically, you find that just getting started, just hones in your focus, it accelerates further reviewing and getting
Yeah.
a deeper understanding of it. So the strong recommendation is just to get started and work with what's there. Don't try to boil the ocean
Yes.
with too much upfront qualitative data gathering. Get started, see with what you have, and then let that
That's a
guide you
really good
from there.
starting point. What do we know exactly? Yeah. What can we find in our data already?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you usually have are surrounded by people, in particular in the sales team or customer success, who talks to
And
customers
they
every
know.
day.
Yeah.
Go interview them, sit next to them, take some calls,
Nice.
join customer meetings, ask your questions.
Nice.
Uh, that's a strong recommendation.
Very cool. Nice. All right. I
Yeah.
think that's a very good overview, I think, of customer segmentation.
And with
Cool.
that, now we're coming to the end of this episode. As always, we highly hope that you will give us a like when you listen to our episodes, and hopefully listen to more episodes, but also to provide a recommendation, a review, give us feedback, ideas on topics to pick up,
Yeah.
and we're here to review them and get back to you.
Any
Otherwise,
product blockers, growth blockers, anything you think of, just hit us up.
exactly. And
Perfect.
but with that, thank you very much for listening, and see you in the next episode.